and all, myself Amita Asthana. So in today's video lecture, we will be discussing about the properties of Laplace transform, that is taken from the signal system KC403. It's a syllabus part from unit 3, and so already we know the Laplace transform is a tool so that we can analyze the signal in S domain. So S domain is the signal which is related to the frequency, and it is also useful for the complex signals that are having some real values as well as the imaginary values. So here we go. So starting with the properties of the Laplace transform, we have signals which are two-sided. That means they are defined for the negative side as well as they are defined for the positive side also. So these type of signals are known as bilateral signals. So the transform, whenever we are talking about the transform, we need to see the signal to analyze the signal where it is lying. So for that point of view, it is very important so to know the signal whether it is unilateral or bilateral. So here there are some properties of the Fourier transform which don't have an equivalent for the Laplace transform, like Parseval theorem, duality. So we need to discuss the all the properties in view of all these things. So coming up to the first property, that is linearity property. So if I am having one signal x1t, its Laplace transform is defined as x1s, and I am having another signal x2t, its Laplace transform is defined as x2s. So this, if I multiply by some constant, then it will be multiplied in the Laplace transform as well as. So the point is, when I want to take the Laplace transform of the sum, that will be the sum of these two. Okay. So this is the linearity property that follows the homogeneity as well as the additivity in terms of Laplace transform also. Now coming up to very important part, that is ROC, the region of convergence. So that's very important. In the last lecture we have already discussed the region of convergence for the Laplace transform. So here the region of convergence, let's say for x1t. Okay. So here this region of convergence, let's say it is R1 and its region of convergence being R2. Okay. So R1 and R2 are the region of convergence for these two signals. Then what would be the region of convergence for the AX1s and BX2s? Okay. So the region of convergence in this case would be intersection of these two signals. So that means the region of convergence will be R1 intersection R2 for A x1s plus B x2s. Not to be confused with this B. This is B is taken in the place of A2. So there will be no change at all. The region of convergence point to be noted will be the intersection of these two, R1 and R2. Now coming to the next property, that is time shift property. The time shift property is, I shift the signal in time domain by some capital T. Okay. So what would be the Laplace transform of the shifted sequence or shifted signal, right? So actually Laplace transform we take for the continuous signals only. So xt minus t, that is, it will be we will just multiply this e raised to the power minus t into s. Okay, and this will be the Laplace transform for the xt minus capital T. So here, what would be the ROC? There will be no change in the ROC. That means, that clearly states that if xt Laplace transform, okay, Laplace transform is xs, right, and xt minus t Laplace transform is directly, we can write it as s t x s, ROC r, ROC r. So this is what we can understand by this particular property. Let us understand this particular concept with the help of this example. Let's say e raised to the power minus 2t ut, xs will be 1 upon s plus 2. The ROC, what would be the ROC? See here, when just remind to, this is my S domain, okay, and here let's say this is sigma and this is j psi, the real part, and this is my S plane, and for this particular signal, the calculate the pole, and that pole will be S is equal to minus 2. So this is my minus 2 point, and the ROC, coming to the ROC, as already we have discussed, the ROC will be all the points right to the minus 2. So this real part of x's will be greater than minus 2. So this is a simple example where we can define the ROC. But let's say we have shifted this particular sequence e raised to the power minus 2 t minus 3 t minus 3, then just we are going to multiply by e raised to the power minus capital T s. Analogous to that, e raised to the power minus 3s we can multiply to 1 upon s plus 2. The remaining x's will remain same, and the ROC won't give any change. Okay, it's not going to give any change because the property says that the ROC will be same as x's. Okay. So here we can note one important point, that ROC doesn't change by the zeros. It is only changing just because of change, addition or deletion of any pole. Okay. Next, another example, as we can take that this ut minus t, the Laplace transform will be 1 upon s, and that will be e raised to the power minus ts, and that will be given by 1 minus e raised to the power minus ts upon s. So this is one another example. Let us consider to so here that s cannot be 0, but it defines the ROC, the complete entire s plane, because here this s cannot be 0, but it can have any value. So the ROC for this particular will be the entire s plane, not at 0. The 0 point is excluded from the ROC. Next, the multiplication by the power of t. So here we multiply it t into xt. Simple statement that will be only d upon ds x's. Okay, what does it mean? Let me tell you. What I am saying is, let's say I am having the Laplace transform xt, that is x's. Okay, the Laplace transform. I want to calculate the Laplace transform of d by dt of xt. What would be the Laplace transform for this particular? So this is nothing but, since xt Laplace transform is x's, so I will simply write x's, and in place of d by dt I will write 1s. I will be writing only small s in place of d by dt. So this is a property for multiplication of any power of t. If let's say I increase the square dt square, then here it will be s square. So for any power n, we can write this as d raised to the power n ds n x e j omega. For it was earlier stated as like this. Okay. One more thing is that we must take care, that is, see here, whenever I am having this n is equal to 1, okay, so here minus 1 raised to the power n needs to be multiplied with the d raised to the power n dx s raised to the power n x. So that is also need to be considered. For an example, we take, let's say we have one ramp signal which can be defined as rt is equal to t into ut. This is a ramp signal example, and I want to take the Laplace transform of this, and I just have this t multiplied by ut. So we will have this property that minus 1 raised to the power 1 in place of n, here n is equal to 1. So I will just put this property d upon ds1 1 upon s, and this will be nothing but 1 upon s squared. Okay. So the rs will be 1 upon s square, simply as we can calculate. And now for the differentiation property for bilateral, that is for both sides, the signals which are defined both sides. So let us understand this. For d raised to the power n xt, only change is that we are not considering the minus 1 sign here. Okay. So this is one we can have a look. We need to take care of this. That means if I am having this xt, the Laplace transform would be xs, xt, the Laplace transform is xs. Now I want to calculate d upon dt xt, and we know that this is a bilateral signal, so we don't need to put a minus 1 here, but we can simply write like this. Here I told you to take care of this minus 1, but in the case of bilateral signal, as if we know that the given signal is bilateral, then we can omit that minus 1 multiplication, minus 1 raised to the power n multiplication in the respective Laplace transform. Now let us consider one more example. So xt is equal to del t. Let us consider one impulse signal which is represented at differentiation of the unit step. So what should be the axis? That will be 1. If I apply this by the formula also, we can get the same transform, but by introducing the property of differentiation, we can also calculate the del t. And but there is a little change. ROC for del t is larger than the ROC for ut. Okay, so this is one that that also we will understand how the ROCs can be changed by some differentiation property. See, and the thing is, if any pole, whatever we have discussed here, the point is why ROC can be larger. ROC can be larger because there are some manipulations while doing the calculation. The poles may get cancelled, and if this happens, the ROC may extend. Now coming to the integration property. So coming to the integration, that is 0 to t x lambda into d lambda, the 1 upon s xs ROC should not be s is equal to 0. Okay. So this is the integration property for the Laplace transform, that whenever I am putting the integration sign, I need to put 1 upon s. In differentiation, I was multiplying by s. In integration, I will be multiplying by 1 upon s. The reverse will take place. In the same way, we can have the convolution integral. So this convolution, we know, whenever we give any input to LTI system, the output is the convolution of input to HT, the impulse response of the signal. So here that will be XT convolution with HT, and the Laplace transform can be same as XS, that is Fourier transform. In Fourier transform, we have Yj Ej omega was X Ej omega into H Ej omega. Similarly, here Ys is equal to Xs into Hs. That means convolution is getting multiplied in S domain. Similar in the form of Fourier transform, as we have learnt already. So now coming to some unilateral one-sided Laplace transform. So here in this, there is a special case that is unilateral, as we have discussed the if we know the property of the signal, whether it is unilateral or it is bilateral, then we need to consider some important properties, like let's say the Laplace transform is defined as only for the right sided. So signal is right sided and is defined only for 0 to infinity, and I can calculate the Laplace transform as 0 to infinity xt e raised to the power minus st. For right sided signal and also for the causal systems, both the one sided and two sided transforms are equal. The one sided and the two sided transforms are equal, but there are some changes when it comes to the differentiation property. So what are these changes? See here, when it comes to the one-sided, then we need to put this, we have learnt earlier for unilateral. See here, I told you for the unilateral, we are having this multiplication by s. Here for bilateral, we were multiplying by minus 1 raised to the power n. For unilateral, we are not considering the minus 1 power multiplication here. So what we are putting in that case, when the signal is unilateral, we have to put this particular term also, minus x0 minus, where 0 minus is the initial value for the given signal in time domain. Okay. Similarly, if I take d square xt dt square, then s square xs minus x0 minus dx upon dt at t is equal to 0 minus, that is also will be, that is I can write is again as s square xs. This is as usual we are writing one more term, s multiplied by the initial value, x0 minus x dash 0. So this is the differentiation property which gets changed whenever the signal is unilateral. So one-sided Laplace transform we can define in that way. So here the convolution hold as it is as long as the system is causal and the input starts at t is equal to 0. There is no change. Now coming to the initial and final value. The initial value theorem is very important. This is limit s tending to infinity s axis. Sometimes the questions may ask to calculate the initial value and the final value theorem. So we can calculate in the same way. X0 is limit s tending to infinity s axis, x infinity limit s tending to 0 s axis, that is final value theorem. So this initial value theorem, we have x0. In the final value theorem, we have x infinity, and that limit s axis, s is tending to 0 for this and s is tending to infinity for this. Initial value s is tending to infinity, final value s is tending to 0, and hence we can calculate the initial value and final value. So these properties are important when we are applying the differentiation property. Let's say initial values are not defined but they are being asked. So how to calculate? Using these two formula we can calculate the initial and final values for this signal. So let us consider this example. Already I have told you the d of dt xt, that is x minus x0, that we know. So for this particular, so we have 0 minus to infinity, 0 minus to infinity, dt is equal to 0, s is tending to infinity, s is tending to 0. So here initial value for s tending to infinity, final value 0. So this is final value, this is initial value, both can be calculated in the same way, and this can be combined and can be extended to the higher order derivatives. So now application, what are the applications? So let us, we are having some rational transforms, and where the calculation of initial value and final values are very important. Let us consider x's to be 1 upon s plus 1. So that x0 will be limit s is tending to infinity. We will just put in this formula, see here, s into 1 upon s plus 1. So we can go by this, and both will be, if s is tending to 0, that will be 1. And for the final value we can calculate for s initial value for 1 upon s plus 1 square. So that will be s upon s square, s is tending to infinity, that will coming out to be 0. So in some cases it is important to calculate the initial value and final value. So thus we can calculate for the rational transforms the initial and final values for the Laplace transform. So this is one application for the initial and final value theorem. Now let us consider the final value. Similarly, as we have already discussed that this for final value theorem, this s is tending to 0. So we can calculate in this case the final values are coming slightly different. As in the previous case we are having this s is tending to infinity, and in this case for calculating the final value we are tending the s to be 0, and here this is 1 and this is 0. So thank you.